let's talk about this holy war. We are not worthy, dog. We are not worthy at all. So we're going to get into this holy war. I think I might have did it reverse in my notes. I'll just be so locked in on this. It'd be crazy. All right, so we got number 23, Utah. They're heading to Provo to play BYU. This is a daggone good game. This one is Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fox. And I continue to say it, and I'll say it a lot this episode. You guys will be able to predict when I'm going to say it, so just say it with me. We are not worthy. So the history of the Holy War, these two programs have played an awful lot. I think these games, date back to 1896. It's something ridiculous like that when I was doing research, because I think it's 40 miles. Because I remember, I think it was week 2, we was trying to go on the West Coast to do a West Coast tour, and we wanted to go to BYU and Utah, but we ended up getting a better option and staying local. I forgot, where did we end up going week 2? I don't know. It's been so many weeks of the season. We've traveled so much this year. But yeah, the history of BYU and Utah goes back a very long time. I just wanted to check and make sure I was right about their history. So yeah, Utah's winning 60 wins to 33. They got 4 ties. And I believe this game, like I said, I want to say it dates back to 1896. It's a long time these two teams been playing. But daggone internet loads like it's supposed to. But anyway, what we think about that and why this thing loads, it's interesting to me. With this game means so much to the outlook of the Big 12, and it's finally loaded, and we get to look at it in a second here. Yeah, 1896, the first game was played, and Utah won 12-4. Matter of fact, I think Utah won the first 7 game in this series. I believe BYU may have won the last 2 games. Yeah, so BYU is currently on a 2-game winning streak. So that's the history of the Holy War. Utah has dominated the series, but BYU is surging. They're budding program, and I love where they at right now. So let's talk about both of the head coaches, and then we'll get into both of the schemes. So Kalani Sitake, great coach. Got to meet him at Big 12 Media Days. Just an all-around good dude. A lot of good players with that BYU program as well. They're unbeaten 6-0, even though Arizona gave them all that they can handle this past weekend. But, they lean on a physical approach, time of possession, nasty defensively. And that kid, Bear Backmeyer, is truly impressive. He's really impressive. And then we got right across the state, we got Kyle Whittingham. He continues to do what he does. I think a lot of us here at CFB Nation, it's one of those kind of conversations we have behind closed doors. We don't really talk about it aloud, so I hope nobody get upset with me. We're wondering how long Kyle Whittingham is going to be there. That's what we kind of been trying to figure out, because we already know it will be Morgan Scalley team after he leave. CFB Nation in the building. What's happening? How you doing? And yeah, so it's one of those things we kind of talk about. How long we think he's going to be there before Morgan Scalley does get the job. So we'll start with the visitors first. Let's talk about Jason Beck, offensive scheme. They just got him. I think he replaced the guy, Andy Ludwig, I believe, what his name is. So let's just talk about the flexibility of the offense, how creative it is, how it's designed around Devin Dampier. This is an outstanding system for him. And I promise you, the Utah tape, when they play Texas Tech, will be a big part of the film review I do. I couldn't believe how disciplined Texas Tech defense is, but Devin Dampier is outstanding. Beck runs that read option system, heavy RPO, of course. That's what everybody's doing these days. It's that quick game. You got to be able to hit people with the quick game and then have big runs and ground-breaking runs and be able to pull that thing on a read option that was when that backside D end crashes. So Dampier's been electric. He's only threw for 1,131 yards, got 11 touchdowns, also got 378 rushing yards and 5 more scores. Keep in mind that quarterbacks rushing yards, you have your sacks that count against your yards. So that's one of the things that kind of hurts it, if we're being honest. But Davis is their top wideout. He has 416 yards on the season. Utah ranks 8th nationally in rushing. They're able to run the ball. Their running backs can run it. Their quarterback can run it. Outstanding. 16th in scoring. They're averaging just under 40 points per game. And keep in mind that they also played Texas Tech when they didn't score very many points at all. They've also been deadly on third downs. Best in the FBS on third downs, and red zone efficiency is outstanding for Utah. So they plan on scoring once they get into that red area, and that's impressive. And I think Coach Beck's ability to be adaptive, to take what the defense is giving him, but also be able to scheme around his skilled players, I think is amazing. It's kind of the opposite of what we've seen with coaches who run the air raid, where the system kind of determines who's open, like, Jake Spavital, even though his offense is different from Garrett Riley's offense, who is different from Lincoln Riley's offense. They all fall under the air raid tree. This offense, by Jason Beck, is more of a player system. Who do I have? Let's get the ball to the players that we have. Even though we've seen Lincoln Riley this year kind of be a little bit more. Yeah, Makai Lemon, he's on the outside. We got to find a way to get him the ball. It's not the system really dictating who gets the ball. Utah defense, Morgan Scalley has been there. He's a staple there. Continues to be one of the most disciplined coaches in all of college football. His teams of defense are disciplined as well. Physical, extremely physical. I've always said this about Utah. I shouldn't say always, but at least for the last 4 years, I said they remind me of an SEC team that just plays in the West. That's what they remind me of, with the physicality of their approach. Even when they was in the Pac-12, there was a bunch of finesse offenses in the Pac-12, and they could put up points in bunches. They still remind me of an SEC-based team defensively. And his defense live by that RSNB, Relentless, Smart, Nasty Ballhawks. And he runs that. A lot of people, they're not just put in one box. Like, we could say, okay, Texas Tech runs a 3-3-5, but sometimes it looks like a 4-2-5, just the way that they play it. And they look like they got that wide 9 defensive end, if you know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, they play a multiple 4-3 base. Hey, my dog Moon, shout out to you, man. Appreciate you, bro. And they shift a lot between nickel and dime looks, and you have to be able to do that. They had to be able to do that in the Pac-12, and you also have to be able to do that in the Big 12. And I think the best quarterbacks play in the Big 12. You see the points that they put up in bunches in the Big 12. It's just fantastic what they're able to do. So it's a 4-3 base, but it's multiple fronts. What you run offensively will dictate that. The down and distance will also dictate that in Morgan Scalley system. Top 20 in total defense and 293.5 yards per game. That's amazing at the collegiate level. And scoring defense, they're only allowing 13.8 points per game. So it's fundamentals, it's discipline, it's having the ability to tackle, not allowing running backs to make that first man miss. It's what you see a lot of times with what running back coaches teach. They just do a great job. And then Bear Backmeyer, he's impressive. Freshman, plays with a lot of poise, got that number 47. I know a lot of people hate that number, but it's a constant reminder that he's a running back at heart. So I like a lot of what we've seen. And I'm talking about Bear Backmeyer, I'll talk about Utah defense, but you guys know what I mean. I'm heading and I'm transitioning to BYU's offense. So we got Aaron Roderick's scheme. It's really balanced, but they're physical. It starts with physicality. If there's an offense in the country that kind of mirrors another, like we got one in the West Coast, we got one in the East Coast. Look at BYU's offense. Look at Georgia Tech's offense. They mirror each other. Same philosophy. We're going to play with outstanding physicality. We're going to play outstanding defense. And guess what else we're going to do? We're going to run the ball. And that's exactly what BYU is going to do offensively. They rank 11th in rushing yards per game, of course, because they can run a rock. 21st in scoring per game. They're averaging 37.5 points per game. LJ Martin, who we had the outstanding opportunity to interview at Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, Texas back in early July. That's why if you're trying to get into this, find a way to get to these media days. These media days are so pivotal for you. It's the best way to kick off your season. Like, we talk college football 24/7. So in the off season is my favorite time to talk college football, by the way. Not a lot of competition. Some people will be hitting the snooze button until spring or whatever. But we talk at 24/7. But if you're thinking about getting into this, find a way to get to these media days, because the information and the intel that you gain, a feeling that you had about a team entering that event versus how you feel differently about them. Like TCU felt one way, felt differently leaving the event. Okay, they're going to be much improved. Cincy, okay, I thought Scott Satterfield was on the hot seat. But after you see them at Big 12 Media Days and you talk to the players, and the players are sounding like the coaches, you get a different opinion of them. So, yeah, we had an outstanding opportunity to talk to LJ Martin. That kid is very humble, rooted in family, rooted in faith. 2 F's, family and faith. That guy is rooted in family, rooted in faith. Had the opportunity to transfer and go wherever he wanted to go to, but he said, nah, I like what we got here. These guys picked me when nobody else wanted me. That's impressive to me. Right? And Bear Backmeyer has been super efficient. I talked about him earlier while we was talking about Utah. 1,220 yards on the season, 8 tutties, 3 interceptions. And as a freshman, of course, they don't ask him to do a lot through the air, but when he has to make plays, he does have the ability to make plays. And he could make those off-script plays. I think that's what impressed me so far about Bear Backmeyer. And I think this team is better than advertised. I think both of these teams are better than advertised. And while we have so many big games this week, this one may be the most important when we start looking at the hierarchy of the Big 12 and, where we're at with the Big 12. So the Cougars' offensive line has been outstanding. Of course, power and attack eats up 33 minutes of possession time per game. And that, I don't think people realize how great that is. So you're talking about 33 to 27. That means on an average, every game they had a ball six more minutes than the other people. And then college football, that is an eternity. We all know that. So let's talk about Jay Hill's defensive scheme. He's a former, believe it or not, Kyle Whittingham assistant, right? Being able to stay in state. So I believe that preparation will help them for this game. Runs that multiple havoc-driven defense built on deception and pressure. We all know about simulated pressures at this point. He mixes four-man fronts with drop 8 coverages, which you need to be able to do in the Big 12. I'm telling you, the Big 12 is just a different conference. You look at the ACC, you can see a high-scoring game in the ACC. You can see a low-scoring defensive game in the ACC. Same thing with the SEC. Same thing with the Big 10. Big 12 is different. If you don't come in there with the mindset of, brother, if I don't score 38 points, we may lose this one. That's the way it works in a Big 12. So we talked about everybody's scheme. We talked about the defenses. We talked about the offenses. So let's get into advanced metrics and some of the things to watch. So Utah first in the country in third down percentage. And how are they able to get that? They're able to get that because of success rate. Success rate is so important in college football. It's being able to have those favorable down and distances. You know, the ones we like 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2. Those are favorable. You don't want to be 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 when you're almost forced to be one-dimensional, right? You don't want to be in those. So Utah, the reason they're having success this year is because of those favorable down and distances. They're also 8th in red zone offense. That is impressive. That's what you want your team to be. BYU, we talked about their ability to possess the ball. They're going to play the game the way that they want to. You better be in your lunch pail for both of these teams, in my agree. So we're going to pretty much get a chess match between Utah's rushing attack, BYU's disciplined front seven. That's what I expect. Who can win the war of attrition on the line of scrimmage? Who cannot turn the ball over? These are the things I'll be looking for. Utah's favorite 3.5 on the road spread is 48.5. What is my thoughts? I think people may be looking at this last game with BYU. So Arizona had some success, and I think that's why you're getting that. But from what I've seen this year, if we omit the worst game by both of these teams, it's hard to tell. It's extremely hard to tell because the one team that was able to neutralize Devin Dampier, and it was hard for him because Romello Height was playing so disciplined on that edge. And like I said, I'm going to talk more about Texas Tech for my film study tomorrow, my film breakdown tomorrow, my apologies. I'm not sure if I like that. 3.5 on the road is crazy. I think that BYU isn't getting the respect that they deserve, right? Like, how many times last year did we say, it's going to come from BYU, right? At some point, like, this isn't going to work. You know what I'm saying? But their physicality is something that they bring with them every game. I think these two teams kind of mirror each other, if you're being honest. So 3.5 points, I think I would take that plus for BYU at home, too, in Provo. I would take that plus. 48.5. It might be interesting, but I think if both of these teams play with great discipline, I'm not sure if it gets to 48.5, but both of these teams can score. Who wins this game? It's hard to go against Devin Dampier. It really is because of how outstanding he played. Like I said, he's only had that one game where he was struggling. It was just because of discipline, run fits, and just pure fundamentals, gap integrity that Texas Tech was able to win that game. I believe BYU has that same sound defensively. I think they'll be able to play with a great deal of integrity. They play gap sound. They play smart. If you guys want to hand it off, go ahead, hand it off. We're going to stick to our fundamentals, but Devin Dampier ain't going to beat us. If you come into this game and say, hey, we're not losing to Devin Dampier, I like BYU in this game. But if Devin Dampier has one of those games, he's passing the ball well, and he's able to run the ball, and he gets you guys on a few reads, and he gets to warm up. He gets hit a couple times. It could be dangerous. But give me BYU. 48.5, I'm not sure. Mo, I'm not sure. We might get there. I don't know. Give me BYU. Give me BYU by 4 in this game.